Hey, hello. Thank you very much for your participation in our webinar today. My name is Satoshi Takayama, one of the co-founders of Penetrate Partners. And another co-founder is Yasushi Hasegawa. After I introduce our company briefly, he will do the main part of today's presentation. Today's topic of our webinar is distribution channel strategy in Japan. In this presentation, we will explain that just having a local distributor wouldn't be enough to grow your business with Japanese company. But before we start our webinar, I'd like to inform you that at the bottom of this Zoom screen, you can find Q&A panel, question and answer panel. So during our presentation, if you have questions about our presentations or Japanese business in general, please use this Q&A panel to send your question. Then we will answer to your questions during the presentation or at the last part of the presentation. Also, if you have questions about specific industry or about your company's business in Japan, please contact us by email to reserve a separate online meeting with us. You can find Yasushi's email address in his first invitation email of this webinar. It is marketing@fenetre.co.jp. We are happy to answer to your questions and support you for your future business in Japan. Also, after the webinar, if you'd like to have a presentation material, please send an email message to Yasushi, then we can send them to you later. Okay, then please go to the next page. Okay, so this page shows today's agenda. Yasushi will explain overview of economy and industries in Japan, pros and cons of selling through a local distributor, strange distribution channel structure in Japan, case studies, options for distribution channel strategy in Japan, and Q&A. Okay, please go to the next page. Thank you. With this page, I'd like to introduce our company briefly. Our company, Penetrate Partners, is one of the leading consulting firms of trade, investment, and international marketing based in Tokyo. Our clients are medium to large size of companies, mainly from the US and Europe. We also have many clients of overseas governmental organizations to support trade missions and foreign direct investment. The main scope of our service is market entry support to enter Japan, not only by market researches or consulting, but by implementation. This implementation means, for example, business development and lead generation, and this is our company's strength. What we mainly do with this implementation is sales and marketing activities locally in Japan on behalf of our clients. So we work as if we are your local Japanese branch office. We currently have 30 staff and we have worked on more than 300 international projects since our company was established in 13 years ago. Please go to the next page. Thank you. This page shows logos of our past and current clients. As explained earlier, we have clients of mainly European, American manufacturing companies, but we also have clients from Asian region. We also have governmental organization clients. Industries of our clients are mainly industrial machinery, components, automotives. We also have customers in the consumer product segment. So from next page, my colleague Yasushi will explain the main topic of today's presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Takayama-san, for your quick introduction. I'm Yasushi Hasegawa, another co-founder of Financial Partners. Thank you for participating to our webinar today. And it's a great pleasure for me to share our experience, knowledge, and insights of the Japanese market and the market entry strategy into Japan. I'd like to start with the overview of economy and industry, which is somewhat, strange for foreigners. On this slide, you can find some key figures which highlight how Japan is. This is a number of prefectures or province or states. The biggest one is Tokyo and Osaka and Aichi follows. So the difference from the US or Europe is everything is concentrated in big cities. So big companies usually have headquarters in Tokyo or both in Tokyo and Osaka. And population is roughly less than 10% of China, or 1/3 of the US. And GDP is 1/3 of the US. It's still ranked world number 3. So Japan still has a very big economy inside. But the problem is the GDP growth. Last year, due to the COVID-19, we recorded minus 4%. But usually it's between 0% and 1%. So please do not expect a growth of our economy. But in other words, it's stable as far as everything goes well. So sometimes, we experience exceptions with COVID-19 or big earthquake in 2011. At the time, GDP growth shows a negative figure. And you can find very shocking figures here. This is a GDP per capita, which is roughly 40,000 US dollar, which is world ranked number 26. So some of you guys misunderstand, like Japan is a rich country, but I have to say, Japan was a rich country. 20 years ago, Japan was ranked world number 2, but it's falling drastically. So please do not expect rich consumers in Japan. We are getting poorer. Another shocking figure is the average median age, which is getting close to 50. The second oldest population in the world. The first one is Luxembourg. I guess many rich elders are, going to Luxembourg, but I think it's a very small country, maybe an exception. So in big economy, Japan is the far oldest in the world. So I have to say, Japan is getting poorer and poorer and older and older. So if you try to sell your products to young rich, for example, Japan is not a good destination for you at all. So if you expect that, you can leave this webinar now. So probably I will give you more disappointing facts in this presentation. So this is our nominal GDP of Japan. Obviously, it's flat, but you can find this pattern. In 2008, we had this world had the economic crisis. In 2011, we had the big earthquake. At that time, our economy was at the bottom. So in 1980s, the US did Japan bashing because they criticized the Japanese exporting way. Japan took advantage of cheap labor costs, and Japanese companies tried to dominate the US market. Japan bashing happened in 1980s, but during this period, Japan passing happened. Americans fly over Japan to China, India, or other Asian countries. So Japan was ignored during that period, but it's been recovering. However, the COVID-19 hit our economy, and last year we recorded minus 4%. And this year we expect plus 2%, but still it's uncertain. Hopefully we can recover next year. And for your information, now the COVID situation in Japan is getting better and better. 3 months ago, or during the Olympic Games, the number of infections in Tokyo was about 5,000, but now it's 20 or 30 per day. So the situation has been recovered totally, and now the quarantine period after coming to Japan is 3 days. But I hope it's lifted up early next year. So you will have a chance to come to Japan easily without a quarantine period. So Japan is not growing. Maybe only one big economy country on this planet with no growth. This is one of the reasons of our no growth. It's a population chart. Obviously, in 2008, peaked out, and it's been gradually decreasing. Last year or 2 years ago, we lost 500,000 population in a year. So it means we are losing the number of consumers and the workforce at the same time, which will give a bad effect on our economy. So if you try to sell your, for example, healthcare products to elders, Japan is definitely a good market. But if you want to sell, exciting consumer goods to young people, I don't recommend Japan as your destination. So this is our framework, industry life cycle. In 1970s, 80s, 90s, Japan was at this stage growing. And at the end of the 20th century, Japan was the second richest country in the world. So during this period, so many foreign companies try to enter Japan. Sometimes they directly set up their own office and hire local talents. Some companies formed a joint venture. They were rushing because the economy was growing. But now, Japan is a top runner of, aging population, and many markets are shrinking rapidly. I can say some examples. For example, department store, the market size has been less than half of the peak time. And the size of the motorbike market has been less than 10% of peak time. So many of the consumer markets are shrinking rapidly due to the aging of society and the no growth market. At the same time, so many foreign companies entered Japan in the last century, and also many Japanese startups started their business in the last century. So there are so many strong players in Japan, both local and international. So, and when the market has been mature, usually oligopoly has happened, which means the market is dominated by several big, strong players. In that case, it's very difficult to enter. So if you are selling normal products, probably you have no chance. Your products should be very unique compared with your potential competitors. This is the reality of Japan. So the best solution is you had entered Japan in 1970s or 80s, but you cannot go back time. So that's why in Japan, it's super difficult to find a good importer or distributor because the market is dominated by strong players. They have no intention to invest their money into your business in Japan. This is another good example. The number of cars sold in Japan. 30 years ago, 8 million of cars are sold in Japan every year. But now, 5 million, it's a huge drop. So if you are selling a car like Ford, GM, I don't recommend Japan as your destination. Actually, Ford has withdrawn from Japan a few years ago, and now they are considering to re-enter the Japanese market. But actually, the Japanese market is not good for automotive. However, Japanese automotive companies are quite doing well, even though the domestic market is shrinking rapidly. The secret is here. You can find the sales, domestic sales here, roughly 5 million. But at the same time, Japanese automotive companies are exporting the same amount. So the domestic production is here. It's stable. Still, 10 million of cars are produced in Japan. In addition to that, this is the overseas production. It's rapidly growing, at least steadily nowadays. So this is a secret. Many Japanese automotive manufacturers are growing by export and global expansion. So if you are selling to automotive industry, Japan is one of the most attractive market in the world. And this example is for automotive, but in other manufacturing sectors like construction machinery, agricultural machinery, robotics, factory automation, medical devices, industrial electronics, they are growing by export and global expansion. So for B2B suppliers, I strongly recommend Japan as your destination. And this is a very interesting research conducted by AHRCA Japan, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Germany in Japan. So their Japan office distributed the questionnaire to German companies in Japan, their membership. And the questionnaire was asking, which is bigger, B or A? B is the sales from Japanese companies in Japan. A is the sales from Japanese customers outside Japan. And surprisingly, half of them answered A is greater than B, which means they are earning more money outside Japan by doing business development in Japan. And more surprisingly, 20% answered they earned 4 times bigger outside of Japan than in Japan. So this is the reason why still many foreign companies are doing business development in Japan. So of course they can earn money in Japan, but at the same time, they will have a chance to deliver to Japanese companies located all over the world, like in the US, Europe, China, India, everywhere. So this is the most attractive point of the Japanese market. The background is here. If you are selling cheap and commodity products, like spring, screw, I don't know, very, very cheap one, you can directly sell to Japanese subsidiaries, like in India, China, because the local engineers have authority to make a decision to purchase such kind of products. However, if you are selling important components or equipment, for example, in the automotive industry, like sensor for safety, or software for autonomous driving, engine filter for eco-friendly, actually, decision makers are always in Japan. This guy made a decision, okay, I will choose this component. And then this guy will give a command to Japanese subsidiaries. You should use this component. In that case, you have to close a deal in Japan, and then you will have a chance to deliver to a Japanese company outside Japan. So this is the reason why it's very attractive. You do business development in Japan. So you can capture global sales from big Japanese manufacturers. So this is a summary. I have to say, Japanese only domestic market is not attractive. It's still big, but it's shrinking and the competition is super harsh. So especially you are selling to consumers, I don't recommend Japan, basically. Of course, if you have very strong brand and have budget for promotion and branding in Japan, probably you will have a chance to be successful in Japan. But most of foreign big players have withdrawn from Japan. For example, the biggest cosmetics company in Europe, L'Oreal, has only 1% market share in the Japanese skincare sector. And this year, they made the decision to withdraw from Japan. So again, the market is shrinking and the population is getting older and poorer. At the same time, consumer preference is very different from any other countries, even from East Asian countries like China or South Korea. So it's not easy to be successful for consumer goods players. But if you're industrial suppliers like components, devices, software, or any, Japan is definitely one of the most attractive markets in the world. And in addition to that, if you are selling some solution of healthcare or alternative energy, Japan is still a good market because we are getting older and we still have a shortage of electricity problem because many of the nuclear plants have stopped their operation, but we have to reduce CO2 emission. So that kind of solution is demanded. So this is our end of market overview. So Japan is a very tricky market. It could be the best destination for some companies, but could be worst for some. So you have to be very careful before you make a decision to choose Japan as your destination. Okay, in this section, I would like to explain about the distribution channels, pros and cons. So this is our framework to compare different market entry options. The vertical shows the degree of risk. The horizontal axis shows the degree of control. So if you invest 100% by yourself, you can get the high control, but it's a risk. You may lose your investment. And the trade, it's no risk. You just find a distributor and you export your products. But control is wrong because the distributor usually work for their own interests. They don't represent you. So those two are extreme options. In between, you will have some options like licensing, joint venture, or you work with a marketing company like us. So in that case, you have to bear some risk paying some small monthly fee, for example, but you can control your business in Japan. So I know, and the ideal solution is here. You find an ideal distributor in Japan, and they work hard, and you can semi-automatically export your products with doing nothing. I know this is the ideal situation, but it's unlikely to happen in Japan. As I explained, the market is shrinking and the competition is harsh. Most of the distributors are old and they have been selling hundreds of products, and probably many of them are not interested in adding one or two more products in their product line. That is the reality of a very mature market. However, selling through a local distributor has some benefit. First, it's quick to experience the market situation. And again, low investment, low risk. And this is the biggest advantage. If you have found a good distributor who has a relationship with your target customers, you can take advantage of their customer base easily. So that's why I can say finding a distributor would be the good first step of your market entry into Japan. But in many cases, sooner or later, your sales hit the ceiling, and you will be frustrated because you can't control your distributor because you work remotely from outside Japan, and you can't control your distributor. So this is our disadvantages of just working with a local distributor. So it's very difficult to form a good relationship with the end customers because many of the distributors hide most important information of the end users, because they may terminate the or you may terminate the contract with that existing distributor in the future, maybe. So that's why they like to protect important customers and important information. And it's very difficult to have a deep technical discussion, because distributors in Japan are very old companies. They're being selling many technical products, and they usually don't have a resource to allocate on taking care of complicated things for your products. Again, it's very difficult to get the market information, and one distributor usually doesn't cover whole the industries or whole the applications. Sometimes you need to have another distributor for a particular company group, like Toyota. And so, because Toyota doesn't purchase from a distributor from Nissan Group, for example. It is called Keiretsu in Japan. So sometimes their purchasing culture or supply chains is super exclusive. And you can't control sales activities and end user pricing. And probably your technical service level will be very low at the beginning of market entry. And again, I explained delivering to Japanese companies outside of Japan is the biggest attractive point for you. But for a Japanese distributor, it's none of their business. So they don't have strong motivation, while you may have strong motivation. The worst thing is you never know what's going on in Japan if your business doesn't go well in Japan. So I have to say, finding a distributor will be the good first step of your market entry into Japan. But due to the market structure, maturity of the market, so it's very difficult to control your growth of your business in Japan. So you have to combine some options to find your distributor and help them to sell more your products. So in this section, I'd like to explain some characteristics of distribution channel structure in some major industries. Probably many of you guys have known this business culture, multi-layers. This is an extreme case we have experienced. The manufacturer, I think it's a German, or I forgot the nationality. And this importer imports products and distributes through many layers. Finally, end users, factories of big manufacturers purchase the products. In this case, it takes a lot of time to penetrate, and price advantage should be lost by going through multi-layers. So, and you can find, if you are selling such kind of products, you will experience this situation. And what we did for this client is online marketing. And we try to get the inquiries from end users to importers and deliver to end users. Of course, still they had the pricing issue, but at least they can understand the demand of end users, and that's why importer can manage or incentivize those multi-layers players. This is a closed model. Again, I said Toyota only purchase the Toyota Group companies like that. And it can be seen car, house appliances, cosmetics. So Toyota dealers only sell Toyota cars to consumers. If you are Ford or GM, for example, you can't sell your cars to Toyota exclusive dealers. In this case, you have to develop your own dealer network in Japan, covering whole Japan. It will require hundreds of millions of investment at the beginning. So this is a strong entry barrier. And it's a cosmetics case. They have an exclusive dealer network. So if you are selling cosmetics, you have to set up your sales subsidiary and your own dealer network. Nowadays, it has been changing. Some companies directly sell online by e-commerce, but this is a basic structure of distribution channel of cosmetics. So this is a direct model, as I said. In some industries, there are no good importers because many major manufacturers directly sell to consumers. So if you place an order to us to find a good importer in such industries, unfortunately, we have no solution because we can't find an importer which doesn't exist in Japan. So in this case, probably you start e-commerce with an e-commerce company would be the only one right option. Sometimes we work for our clients to sell on Amazon Japan, but it requires a lot of operation. So we have to charge a decent level of money. So this is a reality. So usually Japanese e-commerce company charges 30% of sales if they take care of all the e-commerce operation. And the importer will charge 5 to 10% importing fees, depending on the volume. So this is our direct model. And this is our purchasing agent. Sometimes you expect your distributor proactively sell to end users, but in Japan, there are many distributors who represent end users. They make an inquiry to manufacturer to purchase a particular inspection machinery and they import it from Germany, for example. So in this case, you can't control this guy because this guy is controlled by end user. So it can be seen in some complicated machinery sectors. And this is our famous structure in automotive or construction machinery. Distributors don't try to sell your products to manufacturer because they think it's not their job. Their job is to deliver thousands of products just in time, for example, to Toyota or Nissan. So in this case, you have to close a deal with a manufacturer directly, and then you can talk to distributor, and finally distributor will deliver your products to manufacturer. And in this case, this guy doesn't care whichever your products or your competitor products, because the pricing is almost same, profit is almost same. This guy is happy as far as his customer is satisfied. So that's why you have to persuade the engineer at your end user. So if you ask me, please find an importer in this industry. Sorry, I have no solution. Our solution is you hire someone in Japan to do sales activities with end users. In this case, we are happy to do that on behalf of you on outsourcing basis, on the retainer basis. And OEM or SPA. The good example is Uniqlo. Actually, Uniqlo doesn't have factories. They just outsource manufacturing to some factories in China, Bangladesh, or India, and they import such products and directly sell to consumers at their own retail shops. In this case, you have no chance to work with Uniqlo if you want to sell your brand. Only one solution is you work as an OEM supplier under their quality control or their design. So this structure can be seen in fashion, furniture, supplements. So that's why quality of Uniqlo's goods are so good, but the pricing is very cheap. So now they have 30% of market share of Japan dominating, and this market structure can be seen in furniture or supplement industry. It's very difficult to find the importers, or I can say it's impossible. So probably now you're familiar with the complicated distribution structure of Japan. So it's not easy. Just finding a distributor wouldn't be a solution for your market entry into Japan. So I'd like to give you some examples, case studies. Probably you can study what you have to do to be successful to sell through a local distributor in Japan. The first one is a typical case. It's a German suppliers case. Their target customers are those guys, and we worked for finding a distributor for this company. It took time, but finally we arranged the agreement between our clients with a small distributor in Japan. So good thing is they have already established good relationship with the target end user in medical devices, factory automation, or any kind of electronics companies. However, their main products are very simple parts. It doesn't require a technical discussion or some troubleshooting. Very simple product. But this company is producing a complicated device. So this guy had to do a lot on technical matters, like a discussion to define specification with each end user, for example, and troubleshooting. And after several months, we realized why this distributor doesn't generate any sales. And we didn't know what happened in this distributor. And we had a discussion with the distributor, and it turned out technical trouble. Japanese engineer loves micromanagement. They are perfectionists, and once they find some defects on the products, they expect a lot of things. Actually, in Japan, a relationship between customer and supplier is not fair. There's a problem in Japan. A customer is God, so they are really arrogant in front of Japanese. Probably they are very polite to foreigners, but in front of Japanese salesperson, they are super arrogant. They usually say, right here, right now, you should come. So it's a tough situation. This salesperson taking care of end user experienced a terrible situation because some German companies are super logical and radical, and sometimes their support for solving technical trouble is not good enough. And this salesperson taking care of end user experienced that. And then can you guess what he did? Rumors spread out among their colleagues. Oh, this German supplier is not good at the technical support for us. So that's why most of sales don't make effort to try to their technical devices. So you have to be very careful. Customer is God in Japan, and your distributor has to serve them. And if your technical support is not enough, they just ignore your products. In addition, you have to be careful. The organization culture is very corrective. One salesperson experiences bad situation. Probably all other salespeople follow that way. And this is a multi-layers case. Construction material company. This guy is a very small company or family owned. The father is the CEO and the mother is the CFO and son is a salesperson like that. And it started selling through second distributors to end users. It seems successful, but it happened 10 years ago. And then no growth from the second year. And this company placed an order to us for research, how they behave in the Japanese market. And we did some investigation and had discussion with this distributor. And it turned out this guy gave a virtual exclusivity to second distributor. It's a gentleman agreement. But our client didn't know that. That's why, their sales is stable but no growth. Oh, sorry. So our, recommendation was this guy, our client has to find the second distributor to sell to other end users. So if you work with a distributor in such multi-layer situation, you have to be careful with what's going on or among multi-layers. And this is a case for purchasing agent, German pump manufacturers. Yes, this guy made an inquiry to our client, but nothing happened. The first case, one machinery was sold to end user A. Of course, our client expects to sell to other big end users, but nothing happened. And it turned out 30% of sales of this guy is from end user A. So this guy is very loyal to A. So they hesitate to have business with competitors of end user A. So it's a super exclusive relationship. In this case, you have to find another distributor for end user B or to end user C. So please be careful the exclusivity over their supply chain. It's not written on any contracts, but culturally it happens. So you have to be very careful with their end users. And this is a case of construction machinery or a commercial vehicle, or it's same in the automotive industry. Our clients, American Energy Filter Company, met the distributor, but nothing happened because, as I said, the main role of this guy is just-in-time delivery. So in this case, you should not rely on this guy for sales. You have to hire someone to have a technical discussion with end user A about technical matters. And finally, you can sell through this distributor to end user A. So when you try to establish your distribution channel in Japan, you have to be very careful with such kind of complicated culture and structure of supply chain. And probably you need advice from an expert, local expert from like us. So in this final section, I'd like to give you some recommendation how to control your growth in Japan. This is the first option. So our recommendation is you hire local sales. And this guy can control distributor, sort of channel management. So your sales can join the meeting with some end customers and your distributor. So your sales can find what's going on with this particular end user and another end user. And then if this guy doesn't cover industry C, this guy can do business development directly. And this guy report their activities and the market information to you. So this is a major model most of our clients prefer. And we usually play a role of this local sales on outsourcing basis. In such case, you will have a virtual Japan office. Of course, you don't need to register a subsidiary, or you don't need to pay corporate tax, but you just keep paying to us on the retainer base, and you can control your distributor and the Japanese market. The disadvantage is we charge several US dollar per month, but it's much cheaper than the case. You set up your office in Japan and hire local talents. So that is our first option. The second option is you ask your distributor to hire your engineer under their payroll. And this guy can support technical matters. But so if you have a problem about technical support, this option could work very well. However, this guy is under payroll of this distributor, so command line or report line should be this way. So you still cannot get the full information of your end user or the market. So this is a disadvantage of this model. However, if you are facing only technical matters problems, this solution would be the best choice. And this is our third option, multi-distribution channel. It's simple. If your current distributor doesn't cover industry C, you try to find another guy. So it's simple. You don't need to pay additional fees, but the problem is a conflict between two guys. You have to spend the time to solve a problem. And for logistics, you have to ship to two players, or you ship to this guy and this guy sell to this guy. So the situation will be, more complex. So it will give you additional burden. And you still have a problem of end user pricing or getting market information, but you can cover new industry. This is our option 3. And this is our option 4. Direct sales. Actually, for automotive, construction machinery, or commercial vehicle, only this option can work in Japan. You hire local sales. This guy do business development and report it to you. Because again, in this industry, these guys don't do sales. You have to hire someone in Japan. So we can support this activity on retainer base with receiving several thousand US dollars per month. But you can get the contact with target end users, and we are happy to do technical discussion with them. And finally, you will have a chance to sell to end user A through this distributor. At the same time, end user A will recommend your products to their factories in other countries, like in the US or Europe, India, China, and you will have a chance to deliver to them. So recently, I had a meeting with one team of our staff selling some automotive components to Matsuda. The sales they earn from Japan is roughly 300,000 US dollar. However, the total sales from this group is 1.5 million. So this is a benefit to have your own sales in Japan in automotive or construction machinery industry. You can get this guy. At the same time, there are subsidiaries all over Japan. The final one is a full outsourcing case. It's somewhat radical. You replace your distributor by third-party importer. At the same time, you hire local sales on outsourcing basis. So in this case, it's your virtual subsidiary for importing and marketing and sales. which is much more efficient than the case you set up your own office and hire local talents. But it requires a decent level of costs. So if you have reached 1 million sales in Japan, for example, I think it's worth to consider this option. Probably your profit will be double or triple by utilizing this model. So this is the end of our presentation today. Again, finding a distributor would be the good first step. But and especially for products which don't require complicated technical service, we recommend you are selling turnkey solution which doesn't require local technical support. However, again, you will face the selling of the sales through your local distributor. In that case, it's worth to consider the next step, business development on outsourcing base. Again, if your products are simple, it's a good option, and the best option or only one option for automotive or commercial vehicle. And if you have found a good distributor in Japan, but you are frustrated with their performance, I strongly recommend you go to this option to control their business and to get the market information directly. And some of our clients have been to the next step, investment, M&A or joint venture, or setting up their own office in Japan and hire local talents. So I recommend you take a step by steps. So that is our recommendation, and to establish your distribution channel in Japan and activate them. And this is the slide to explain our services. We can help you at any stage. If you have no distributor in Japan, we can start with business matching with your potential distributors. We do research to identify your target company and arrange business meetings with you. Nowadays online, maybe face-to-face one next year. And yeah, this is a good start point for your market entry into Japan. But our strongest point is here. We have a stronger expertise of business development. It's a first-hand experience because we have many sales staff having a technical background, and they do sales and marketing by calling your target end users. So this is our strongest point. And we are, of course, support you at the next stage as well. So thank you very much for your participation today. And I hope you get some new insights how to develop your customers in Japan by establishing your distribution channel. So, and hopefully some of you guys have a chance to work together with us in the near future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Yasushi, for your presentation. At this moment, I can't use my camera, so please let me just speak. And during your presentation, we got some questions, and some of the questions are already answered by me, but I have a few interesting questions which can be shared now. For example, one question is that how difficult is it to acquire a Japanese SME company? How difficult is it to acquire a Japanese small medium company? Then maybe my answer was that actually there has been more and more companies which have problems in their successors, especially in case of the family-owned company. So the number of SMEs for the sale of share have been increasing, but typically Japanese family-owned companies do not prefer to sell to overseas foreign companies because they are kind of afraid of selling their shares to the foreign people, and they cannot typically speak with foreign people in English. So there are actually the opportunities of sales of Japanese SMEs, but in reality, it's quite difficult for overseas companies to acquire. But the exceptional case can be that in case of the SMEs owned by large Japanese corporations, in that case, the decision is made by large Japanese company, and they don't care much about who to sell. So in that case, it can be happen. In that case means in case of the subsidiary of large Japanese companies, it can happen. But again, in case of family-owned companies, it will be very difficult to acquire for overseas companies. That's my opinion or answer. Yasushi, do you think, do you agree, or
I totally agree to your idea. It's super difficult. And our recommendation is you can set your final goal about M&A in the future. However, I recommend you start with here. At least you need to have your Japan rep. Otherwise, there's no chance to acquire a Japanese company, I think.
Okay, thank you. And another question is that if we hire salesperson to do all the selling work, the role of distributor is just deliver the machine and attend all the technical issues. And once again, if we hire salesperson to do all the selling work, the role of distributor is just to deliver the machine and attend all the technical issues. And my answer would be that the role of distributor is, of course, to deliver or sell the machine, but another important function of distributor is to stock the products. And also the kind of financial function. That means typically in case of large Japanese customers, the payment term is very long. For example, it can be 3 months or it can be 6 months after the product is sold. So in that case, the distributor can pay the overseas companies in advance of receiving the money from the end customers. So the distributors have, to summarize, 3 functions. One is to sell, second is to stock, and third is to the kind of payment function and pay you earlier than receiving the money from the end customer. Do you have any idea or comments about the role of distributor?
I think it depends on the industry. Again, in automotive, they do nothing on sales, right? So, but in some industries, they do some lead generation, or they connect you with their existing customers. But they don't want to get involved in a deep technical discussion usually. So I think that is a typical case in industrial goods business.
Okay, thanks for sharing the comments. And another question, for construction equipment, what is the best marketing practice to communicate to end users? I understand email blasting is not acceptable, as culturally Japanese prefer to face-to-face. So trade show is the only way for construction equipment?
I don't think so. Basically, they never purchase directly from you. You have to hire someone working in Japan. Otherwise, you have no chance. As far as we know, Takayama-san, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So the face-to-face, especially if you are the construction, parts manufacturer, the best way is try to meet with the engineer of Japanese construction machinery, let's say Komatsu or Hitachi. I understand it's very difficult for you to find the right engineer at Komatsu. In that case, actually, what we actually do for our clients, we have a sales engineer who communicate directly with Komatsu engineers. So we can do the sales activities on behalf of our clients. So this activity is called sales representation service can be one solution, I think.
So if you have a connection with someone in construction manufacturers, probably they will treat you. And if you ask a question, are you interested in our parts? They will say yes, but nothing happens. It's a typical case. Most of our clients in this industry experienced such situation in the past, and they got frustrated. Finally, they have chosen the option. They hire someone working in Japan. So sometimes, they place an order to us that we work on behalf of our clients in Japan. So,
okay, thanks for your comments. And it's actually the time to close, but maybe last one question. Yasushi, now is the time to close.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So maybe last question. For non-Japanese company, how long usually it takes to penetrate the market on average?
Okay, well, of course, it depends on industry. If you are selling components to automotive, probably it takes at least 3 years because they don't replace existing parts by yours for existing models. So what you should do is to find a new project, and you try to spec in. So the cycle of new product development is 3 to 4 years. That's why it takes at least 3 years. In general case, I think you need to spend several months to reach an agreement with your distributor. In many cases, our clients have to come back to Japan for their second round meetings and sign the contract in their third round meeting. So first round meeting is just, greetings in Japan. So they prefer step-by-step approach.
That's correct. Okay, so now is the time to close the webinar today. So thank you very much for joining our webinar today. And once again, if you'd like to receive today's presentation, you can just send us an email, which is marketing@fenetre.co.jp. Then ask to share the material, or if you'd like to have a online meeting, also please let us know to the same email address. Once again, thank you very much for your time, and we hope our webinars was informative to you. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.